Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to our election transmission on PTV World. I'm your host, Khalid. And as you all know, 5 p.m. was the time till which we could poll our votes, and now that time has ended. Polling across Pakistan has ended at 5 p.m. and the results have started to be compiled in all the different polling stations. The process is going to be swifter, much quicker than the last time because of the EMS, because of the different coordinations and the different trainings. As per the spokesperson of the Election Commission of Pakistan, 27,000 training sessions have been given to 1.49 million polling staff that is taking part in the polling process today. Now that the polling process is ended, the important part begins now of counting the votes, of seeing who emerges at the top, who is the number 2, who didn't get as many votes as they did last time. And this is a process that is part of any democracy. This is what we do. This is how political parties come into power. We garner the number of votes. We let the candidates know who's won, who's not, and then of course the majority of the candidates who have been elected form a government one way or the other. This is a process that is very exciting to watch as a viewer as well, and to discuss it becomes also multidimensional in ways that not only it enhances our understanding of the whole electoral process, but also the challenges that lie ahead for the future government and what needs to be done to undo a lot of what has been done by some of the previous governments. We've been joined by three guests. Two of the guests returned from the past hour and one new guest joins us. Our returning guests include Farrukh Pitafi, who's on my very right. As I said, he's an eminent journalist, very intelligent and mature colleague of ours who has an insight that I have rarely seen in journalists in Pakistan. You're very neutral, as we say, as far as your perspective on politics and national international affairs is concerned, and you always look at both sides of the coin, and that is what I really love about your columns as well. He's our first guest, ladies and gentlemen. Our second guest is Musharaf Zahoor. He's a correspondent. We talked to him in the last hour when he was at the constituency, and now he's back in the studio, so we'll get a first-hand information as to how the polling process has gone in the different areas that he has visited. Our third guest, of course, is Lubna Jerar Naqvi, joins us from Karachi. She was there with us for the last hour as well, and as I can say, the least is that it's a pleasure to have you on board this transmission, because you have so much to contribute to as far as the sentiment of the people is concerned, the sentiment of the journalistic community is concerned, and that of Sindh and Karachi is concerned. Let's begin with you, Farrukh. Farrukh, now that the whole polling process has ended, I was when I was talking yesterday, the day before yesterday, to a spokesperson of the Election Commission of Pakistan, Legal Siddiq, she was saying that the counting process and the whole posting, officially posting of who's the candidate who's won in one constituency is going to be swifter, quicker than the last elections. Yeah. Should we attribute it to the EMS? Should we attribute it to the training sessions that have been given, yeah, or should we attribute it to other factors?
Right. I think that because last time RTS, that management system that was there, that actually collapsed under pressure because there was delay. There were many conspiracy theories, and that continued for some time. So this time Election Commission has upgraded its software, created two backups, right? One, if it is not online because of communication gap or communication problems, then it can function offline as well. And then when they post it, then they can carry the form 45 manually to the RO, who can then later on actually further communicate it to the test. So with that kind of a situation, I think one, the emphasis is on speed, and secondly, of course, they have been training the staff, as you pointed out as well. But here's another caveat, and that is very serious, that the number of voters has increased, right? Like earlier when we were talking about the world politics, it was mentioned that half of the world's population is voting. Right now, the elections that ended, half of Pakistan's population, that is 120 million, were registered voters. So if a lot of people have voted, it will take some time to count all their votes. But they have streamlined the process, they have trained their staff well, and let me also congratulate all the stakeholders that so far, without any major mishap, the election, the voting process has been completed.
All right, Musharaf, what is your first-hand information as far as the voting process that went on today is concerned? I know that you couldn't go throughout the country, but the places that you did visit, what was the sentiment like? What was the environment like? Were people enthusiastic to vote? Were they happy with the way the arrangements had been made? Could you give us your point of view?
Well, I have been covering all the day long NA 47 Islamabad, and also I visited NA 18 and PK 47 Haripur, and early in the morning when polling started at 8 a.m. Because if I talk about NA 47, so it's mostly an urban constituency, but there is a small part of a rural population also included in this constituency. So as far as the morning show was concerned regarding the voting, so it was a bit slow. Like in F62, I was there when polling started, and it was a female polling station. And there were, however, I observed that number of female voters was big than the male voters, and that they were in large numbers. So many of the female voters were either elderly or young.
Okay.
So that was also very important. And it was about first hour 8 to 9 a.m. When I observed this, and of course we were reporting for PTV World at that time. So after that, we saw that slowly the number of voters started increasing in the in NA 47 other urban polling stations. And then I visited by 3 p.m. A rural area of NA 47, which is also UC1, and if we say that this is the first union council and also first polling station of NA 47 if you come from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So we observed that by 3 p.m. that was a rural constituency, most of the votes were polled by that time. If we talk about percentage, above 50% votes have been cast by that time. And likewise, if I talk about NA 18 Haripur, that was also a rural polling station where I went, and I observed that they have most of the villagers who were registered voters, they had cast their votes. And when I talk with the people why they have been able to cast so much votes, by how did they manage it? Especially you see people, election workers of different political parties are also there. So they said that they managed to get people out of their homes, and they were successful in that. And by 3 p.m. most of the votes in villages were polled. And however, in urban areas we could see long queues after 12 noon, and then we could see long queues, and people were voting, coming out of their homes and voting to their respective candidates. So this was the trend all the day long. As far as the security is concerned, we also saw that there were elaborate security arrangements, as Election Commission of Pakistan has been holding meetings, special meetings. Especially we see that in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan there were many terrorist attacks and sabotage attempts, but despite the fact it was the resolve of Election Commission of Pakistan and other authorities that made this possible, that we couldn't, as far as Islamabad capital territory is concerned, no any untoward incident took place, and all the day long all polling took place in a smooth and peaceful manner, and that is I think a big success. And that also shows that once you resolve to do something, you can make it. And
all right.
Yes.
Musharaf, you know, there were agents from different political parties that were there as well. When I went to cast my vote at around 8:30 in the morning, I also saw that they were the different representatives of the political parties were there. I didn't see any untoward incident. They were all there peacefully sitting down and even chatting with each other. How was the environment in the places that you visited as far as the agents from different political parties are concerned? Because of course their objectives are different, their ideologies are different, but was the environment also a peaceful one between them?
Well, the agents were had been seated on their designated places inside the polling stations which I visited, and they were harmonious, and they were sitting and they were guiding the voters actually. And what I observed that there was complete harmony. They had differences. They were representing their particular political party, but once it came to the guidance to the voters, they were welcoming everybody and helping them to find out their serial numbers. And I saw many elderly women on a polling station, and they were there, and I saw that all the polling agents they were rushing to guide them, and that was really an encouraging sign, and that was really a good sign which we should appreciate.
All right, all right.
Yes.
Lubna, Jerar, Naqvi. Now that the polling time has ended everywhere in Pakistan, and that includes Karachi as well. You said in the beginning, in the last hour when we were discussing, you said that there was a turnout a bit later in the day because this is how Karachiites are. But even here, as our correspondent was saying, in Islamabad also, there were a lot of latecomers, and the lines started to gain strength or a bit around noon. Now that polling has ended, now that everything has gone more or less fine across the country, what are your expectations from this side of the polling process, that is the counting process? Do you expect a swift result oriented mechanism coming out by later tonight, or do you feel it is going to be a repeat of previous incidents?
Any repetition from the last experiences that we had. Now that we're more technologically connected, and we have the RTS system, which hopefully will work in many areas, it can be.
Now it's the EMS system, Lubna, just to remind you.
Sorry. So it's very easy for people to manipulate any kind of result that comes out. That's something that we can always say, but I think the process should be a little faster, and it will take at least, it's not humanly possible that at 5 o'clock it shuts down and your votes are counted. So we have to be a little patient, and that's a role where our media needs to be very patient as well. If they're giving out some unofficial results, they should first think about airing them, because last time we saw a lot of confusion and it created a lot of issues that resonated and kept being spoken about way into the tenure of the government, and that really wastes a lot of precious time. So let's hope. I'm hopeful that the things will be a bit more streamlined, but you never know.
Right. But this is what we've been also told, that with the EMS system, there's such a level of security and alternative mechanisms in place that it's not going to be a repeat of what happened in the 2018 elections with the RTS system. And they said that they have tried and tested out various times so as to ascertain whether it will remain stable or not under any circumstance, even under the burden of the number of votes or whatever happens as far as the election process is concerned. Farrukh, Lubna pointed out towards the whole process, but she also talked about the role of the media and how we need to be careful and responsible as far as the announcement of different results is concerned, whether it be from the provincial assemblies or the national assemblies. There has been a trend in the past, and we've seen so many channels, not our channel, but the private channels, try to take strides in being the first one to post and or to announce an unofficial result of any constituency. Do you feel this A is a responsible attitude? B, do you feel that trend will be changing this time, or are we going to see a repeat of that trend happening?
Right. I'm pretty sure, Omar, that when this hour ends, because that is the barred hour, right? Election Commission does not allow reporters or news channels to actually report before 6 o'clock after the close of the voting. So when the hour closes, I assure you every channel will claim that the first result was reported by their reporter, right? And this happens invariably. And what exactly is the case here? You know, in far-flung areas where turnout is low, then 1 or 2 polling stations actually turn up results very quickly. So one reporter goes there and starts reporting. Now the problem is that one polling station does not make one constituency. It can be a pocket of support for one political party or the other. So it becomes an outlier. So initially when they start reporting, the trend starts showing that perhaps one party is winning very comfortably. But then you have to go for the cumulative votes of the entire constituency. When you do that, you realize that the difference wasn't there. It was hardly 2,000, 3,000, not clean sweep. There people then start questioning the process as well. Now bear in mind, there are polling staff from all across Pakistan who are sacrificing their comfortable day to be on the polling station to ensure that you can vote. And these are people who then have to count and compile the results. But because your media is such, and then nobody, mashallah, actually believes in researching and checking whether there is any truth to any conspiracy theory, right? What happens is, in the end, many of these people are directly being threatened by the end of the day. So I hope this time this trend changes. But I'm not hopeful. I'm not holding my breath.
But you know, add to that is also the social media groups, the WhatsApp groups of the different political parties and their constituents, and then the other, you know, the plethora of WhatsApp channels and social media platforms like X and Instagram that will be flooded in a few minutes' time, as you will see.
No, the entire day, our leading anchors from private sector actually kept on just putting out tweets which have no support or evidentiary value, but they, you know, because you are aligned with one party or the other, you keep on actually projecting the narrative. And this is the sad intellectual dishonesty, because when you are actually working for your own brownie points, you don't care what happens to the country.
I totally agree with you. Intellectual dishonesty or honesty for that matter. Musharaf, how important is it for the reporters as well? You've been a reporter for quite some time. You've been in the midst of so many reporters from the private sector as well. How important is it for maintaining the dignity of the profession that you remain intellectually honest?
Well, it is very important, because for a reporter, be credible and dignified is too important for his career growth as well. And without that, you cannot even survive in this profession. And otherwise, you don't feel yourself to be in this profession, because credibility is one thing, and honest, and then what you are producing, generating the content, that should be validated with proofs and the things which are not speculative. You should be you have concrete evidence on which your reports must be based. So that not only increases journalist credibility, but also the outlets, media outlets to which they are associated, that also increases their credibility. So credibility is no doubt an important, essential part of journalist's life.
But you know, the thing is, Musharaf, there is credibility and then there is credibility. There are different versions and different aspects of what my version of credibility is, and what Farrukh's version of credibility is, and what Lubna's version of credibility is, and what the version of credibility of a young boy or a girl who is studying and of a professional or a businessman. I think these are varying degrees of credibilities that need to merge as one, and for that a huge work is required.
Will not happen. Will not happen.
But as we are talking about credibility for journalists, if we take it on the baseline, we see that credibility for journalists, it means that whatever he is reporting, that should be fact based, that what he is seeing he should be reporting that without fear or you know, any inducement or whatever you know, you may say.
I mean, honesty I think is very important, and sincerity to your profession.
And you should be stick to the facts instead of crafting and doing things which are not actually on ground, and you are just you know, uttering them or reporting them without any just to grab viewers or to you know, spread emotive content. Especially we see social media, so we see a lot of emotive content which is only
emotive and divisive content.
Yes.
Yeah, but by the way, earlier Lubna Sahaba was also talking about the importance of the young generation, the TikTokers, the social media generation. My concern is that I have met some of the most incredible and smart people who are young and who are very articulate as well. The biggest problem is because us, the aging journalists or other people who are pundits, they actually are working for one political concept or the other. They are dropping ball in actually honing that talent, because those young people are not being explained what journalism is, what you are supposed to do. He was talking about evidence. I have worked in newsrooms, many newsrooms, and the first thing that I saw was how many retractions there were, because there was one principle. If you are going to run an anonymous story, at least have two sources to confirm it, right? If one fell through, either somebody got sacked or somebody actually issued a retraction with an apology. Does that happen now? Every anchor, every pundit that is sitting on television is just taunting somebody. Now we have become entertainers. We have to give you some kind of masala so that anybody who's watching is amused and they keep
You
on
know, a
watching.
lot of analysts or pundits that I've talked to say that the news or the prime time shows have become the new form of entertainment for them.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very sad fact, to say the least.
But then what happens to the entertainment channels? Then end them, shut them, right? I think that basically news job is news job.
Exactly.
You have to work for
Facts,
news.
figures, and analysis of those facts and figures. Lubna, Farrukh was quoting you as far as the youth is concerned. When it comes to the youth, the first thing that comes to my mind is social media, is X, is Instagram, is TikTok, and so many other, Facebook, and the list goes on. The involvement of the youth in these social media platforms could be described as constructive, but also, if I discuss different aspects of it, could also be described as polarizing or destructive. Whichever government comes into power now as a result of these elections, do you feel its responsibility should also be towards handling the youth in such a manner so that they can garner more responsible attitude when it comes to dealing with social media? Should we have some training sessions in the schools and colleges as far as handling social media is concerned? Should we also indicate to them what needs to be done and what does not need to be done as far as posting and, you know, false or misguided information is concerned?
Well, I have different takes on all of this. I think technology, when it comes, like when radio and television came, I'm sure it really ruffled the feathers of the elders who were not used to all these technological devices. I think we do need to train everybody how to use social media, because it's as dangerous as it is useful and powerful. But I don't think we need to stifle the voices of the youth. They need to keep talking and speaking and voicing what they're feeling, so that at least they can make an impact on the governments or the leaders that they're following. But having said that, I don't think we should be relying on the information that those unverified people or influencers or somebody who is not in the business of journalism, let's say. A journalist or a reporter is usually the basis of your career, your profession is truth and facts and reporting. So we need to keep revisiting the ethics of journalism. And if you revisit if a journalist does understand the ethics and the code of conduct of journalism, we won't have any unverified facts or sensationalism. The unfortunate thing is that with the breaking news phenomena that came with the private channels, which was a good thing in one way, that was an experimental phase for our media.
Okay.
That kind of
Lubna, we have to come back. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Stay tuned on this election transmission on PTV World. Welcome back. You're watching our special transmission on elections 2024. I'm your host, Khalid, and we've been joined in the studios by our Caretaker Minister for Information and Broadcasting, Mr. Murtaza Solangi. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us. Now that the time for polling has ended, we can officially ask you how important has been the role of the Caretaker government to move towards elections 2024, and how much of a responsibility was it on your shoulders?
Well, it's important because from day one there were just too many speculations that the current caretaker government is here to stay longer than constitutionally mandated. So we had to prove every day that those speculations were baseless. I remember my first press conference after our first cabinet meeting, the day after we took the oath of our office on August the 18th, Friday. And the first question that was asked was, well, are you serious with holding elections? Will you hold elections on time? And from day one, I have been constantly and consistently saying that elections shall be held on time as announced by the Election Commission of Pakistan. And especially, first they said we'll hold elections in the end of January, and then they decided and declared the date of February 8 in consultation with the President as well as the Supreme Court. So since that day, I had almost learnt it and remembered it by rote. Thursday, February the 8th, 8 a.m. polling stations shall open. People will be in queue, and you saw that this morning. In Islamabad, at a polling station that opened 8 o'clock in the morning, I was the first person to vote.
All right. Wonderful.
So you show it with the example, and I have been saying this every day, even on the Senate floor when I had no clear directions from the Prime Minister. A group of 12 senators, Pitafi Saab, Chairman Senate, read out a resolution that, Mr. Minister, you won't oppose this resolution, would you? I said, I will. What? I said, we oppose this resolution. We are committed with, holding elections on time as announced by the Election Commission of Pakistan. That's the only constitutional body mandated under the Constitution to hold free and fair elections. So despite the hiccups, the problems, the mobile interruption and what not, but we had a tragic incident yesterday in Pishin, Balochistan, today in Dera Ismail Khan, but by and large these elections have been orderly and peaceful. So I am very happy that Election Commission of Pakistan and the law enforcement agencies. You had 500,000 police with 137,000 civil armed forces and the personnel of the Pakistan Army to ensure free and fair elections. So I think, I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but I think we did fairly good.
Right. Of course, with your permission, Omar, let me also actually, that moment when the Honorable Minister actually stood in the Senate and opposed that notion, I think that was one of the finest moments of politics in the country. So that day you won many of us back or over. And the second thing is congratulations on holding the peaceful elections, mostly peaceful elections. Now the question is that while the voting process has ended, the conspiracy theories haven't stopped. So they will continue. How do you actually propose to fight conspiracy theories and disinformation once the results start coming in?
Well, those in the business of churning out conspiracy theories will continue doing that. And you only fight lies and slander with more truth and transparency. Those are the only tools available we have. And that's where people like you and him come in. That's where the national broadcaster comes in. That you don't have to hyperventilate. You don't have to scream on top of your lungs. You don't have to push out crazy thumbnails of the evening vlogs. You come out with facts, and you are not in the rush to push out half-baked information.
That's true.
You know, you go, you check and cross-check and verify. Ronald Reagan used to say, trust but verify. So the verification is the tool to fight out conspiracies, and I'm sure when the results come out, and whatever people decide, whosoever they stand behind, they come to power, we all have to expect that they would deliver on the real challenges this country faces today.
You know, you talk of challenges, Solangi Saab. You talked about commitment in your last answer to my question. I'd like to understand, in the time of the caretaker government, there was a lot of commitment as far as the reform process was concerned, taking the country forward is concerned, improving on its foreign relations is concerned, also disavowing all kind of misinformation and disinformation on the national, regional and international level concerning Pakistan is concerned. A lot of responsibility was on your shoulders as well. When it comes to that commitment, how do you feel will be the commitment of whichever government comes now into power to continue the policies that your caretaker government has taken, and also to continue with the policy that you have been following during these couple of months?
This country was created through a ballot, not through a bullet. The future of Pakistan lies in democracy. The Constitution of Pakistan says in its very preamble, this country will be ruled by the people directly elected by the people of Pakistan. So the people's chosen representatives. So we should have faith in the elected system of democracy.
We need to have that faith, Murtaza Solangi Saab, but we have to go to a short break. Thank you very much to have joined us as a very special invitee for this transmission. And we would like to congratulate you, your team and your government to have taken the country towards these elections 2024 in the way you have handled. Thank you very much, sir, to yourself, to the team and to the entire caretaker government. We have to go to a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching the special transmission on PTV World, and our caretaker Minister for Information and Broadcasting, Mr. Solangi, was just here with us, giving us an information on the electoral process and, of course, the work that has been done by his caretaker government, and how we need to also cater to disinformation. Lubna, Jerar, Naqvi. You've heard our caretaker Minister for Information and Broadcasting. You have been following the discussion all along. What now? You know, what in your point of view, you know, as a journalist, as somebody who understands the pulse of the people, what should be the priorities of whichever government comes into power?
Well, first of all, they should begin by taking the public into their trust, because I think that if you tell them that a certain project or a certain thing is in the pipeline and it will take a certain amount of time, I'm sure we're mature enough as a country to understand the issues that we're facing. The common person, the voter out there, is quite mature and politically mature, more than we would even consider in the region. And you can, they give you, they even have short-term plans and even suggestions that I think might sometimes help to work towards something bigger. And I think don't give false hopes to the public. They don't deserve that. They've been seeing that for a long time. I think it's about time, if you're thinking that we want to start on a new path, start on a new page, we need to take the people of Pakistan on the page, and if we're promising something, we can, if I'm a leader, I think I should be very, very honest with my people, because we're not just there to as figureheads and just sitting there. And I think most of I just wanted to add something that we haven't mentioned through these 2 hours, is the gender aspect of the promises that these political parties have made. I don't think most of them made a lot of promises that are workable. I think they should start small. And I think I was listening to Bilal Bhutto, and he promised that he was going to be making homes for women, and the homes would be in their name. That would be a good start if that happened. And if another government comes in, they should also try to go and do certain things that are workable and maybe achievable. So don't make big promises that you can't keep. Try to keep them small and give them small goals and deliver on that. That might help and make them, the government, get more stronger rules.
All right. Finally, Pitafi Saab, Lubna points to workable policies, workable options. What are those workable options or policies that you see as on the front line of the agenda of the upcoming government?
Right, but Saab, when you talk about the politics of this country, unfortunately, we are lost usually in the weeds of policy making, right? The first thing that needs to be done is to ensure that our focus is on economics, right? And in economics, there are 2 or 3 things that have happened, and you have to actually appreciate, the dire situation that we are in. Your neighbors, they started more or less at the same place where you started. But all of a sudden, India and China has such a diverse portfolio that they are not only manufacturing, they are exporting, right? When you talk about Pakistan signing an FTA with any country, what items do we mention apart from commodities? We are talking about the same thing that we were taught in my school or your school, right? Leather garments, clothes, right? A couple of other things, and then in the end, footballs and all that. Why is it that our exports in IT not picking up? Right now, because thanks to the caretaker IT minister, the government has actually laid out a plan.
Yes, Mr. Saab has really worked.
He has
wonders.
really amazingly worked. So they have laid out a plan. If the next government, because they are in sync, right? If the next government is what we are thinking is going to be the next government, if that is so, what we will see is that IT being focused on. Similarly, other avenues of manufacturing and making more money. Because without money, look, Napoleon used to say an army marches on its stomach. So without money in pocket, no country can be great, right?
And for that, we have to go to the important lenders like the IMF, and we have to sustain an important relationship with them to show that we are serious in that.
Let me give you a couple of very good examples.
We're a bit short of time, so we'll have to...
Turkey in 2000s was really suffering. They went to the lender once. But they followed through on the promises with so much dedication that now the economy is great and it keeps on booming. India also was trying to sell its gold, and then it went to IMF and there were instructions. Finally, they got Manmohan Singh, and they also totally transformed their economy. We can do it. The only thing is there has to be consistency, single-minded focus on these matters.
Of course, we can do it. There needs to be single-minded consistency and dedication as far as whichsoever government comes into power. Now, we look forward to that now that the polling process has ended, and we'll be updating you as and when that comes to our knowledge as well. Lubna, Jerar, Naqvi, thank you very much to have joined us. Farrukh Pitafi, pleasure to have you on board. We'll be seeing much more of the both of you in the coming days as well. Ladies and gentlemen, with this we end this part of the transmission. We'll be back after the news break with a new anchor with the continuity of this transmission, and we'll be getting more results as and when that happens. Till then, stay tuned and let's hope for the best to whichever party comes into power. Allah Hafiz.